Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Please comment, subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to be talking about how to build wall fence for this very project. It was an existing wall fence that fell. So this is the foundation, then this is the pillar base. The size of the pillar base is always wider than the size of the foundation, so you have to take note of that. Yeah, this is the laying of the blocks. You can see that we flatten the block instead of the height of the block to be lapped on each other, so we flatten the block. The size of the block we use is 6 inches block, so you can also use 5 inches block. You can also use 9 inches block. The reason why we flattened the block is to provide extra support for the fence, just like an extra support base for the fence, because the amount of filling that is present in the compound is a lot, so that it will not affect the fence. But I will explain the reason why the fence fell before. The reason why the fence fell, it's because of the DPC of the building was lower than the level of the road. So water from the road now started passing through the gate inside the compound. So the amount of water that passes through the gate inside the compound will now move to the fence. So the amount of water that the fence was taking was not too much for the fence. So that was the reason why it collapsed. And the way they constructed the fence before was not done properly as well. The first solution we did was for us to introduce gutter, so that water from the road will pass through the gutter and go away, so that it will not enter the compound anymore. So we introduce gutter at the front of the building. It's an existing building, so we're not the one that did the construction of the building. So I don't just want to record the building because it's already existing. The width of the foundation is 1.6 feet. Then the size of the pillar base is 2 feet 6 inches by 3 feet 6 inches. The reason for the 6 inches is because the size of the mat of the pillar base should be lesser than that size, so that there will be free space away from sand, so that sand will not cause corrosion on the rods, thereby affecting the strength of the material. The laying of blocks should be done properly. So you can see that the bricklayer is positioning his block, so it's very important that you lay your block properly. You have to plumb your block properly. The use of string is very important, so all blocks arrangement must be in a straight line. You have to plumb your block, very important. The laying of blocks should be done properly. The shocking space, also called the joint between two blocks that is being laid, should be joined together properly with mortar. So as well, you should make sure that the laying of blocks is not done positioning it on joint to joint. So it should be joint to block, not joint to joint. You understand? So that the reason why it's done that way is to make it to have binding force. Because if you place the joint to joint, if anything happens to the block, it will just tear down straight. Please always rub your block when you are done with your setting. The reason is that it adds extra support to the building, so it's very important for you to rub it. Some places will just say it does not matter as long as you are done with your work. No, always rub it, please. It matters a lot. It matters a whole lot. The digging of the foundation was done by diggers, so we have to bring in up to 4 diggers to do the digging. So it's very important that you have to make use of line, that rope that bricklayers do use to lay their block. So you have to use it to get a straight line, because the straight line that your string that you have gotten through the use of your string, that you have to mark it out with a shovel. You can also use sand to mark it out, that the diggers will follow. So if they are able to follow your line that we've marked for them, to be more easier, and you don't have to start cutting another place again, so that because the line is not straight enough. But without your line that you have already positioned and the mark that you've cut out with the use of your shovel or with sand, then they'll just follow it like that. Then you get a very straight line. Also with the marking of your pillar base, so you see the same method. You have to use your line so as to get a straight line. So it's very important. The way they constructed the former pillar before, so what they did was that they started the casting from, it was all casting all through. So that was what they did. No, it was not casting all through. They did casting at a certain point, then they started adding block on top, so with reinforcement. But the way they did it was not done properly. Apart from that, the way they positioned the reinforcement was not properly done, and the water that was also entering the compound, so it was actually what affected it. So you can see this is what they did before. So you can see it now. That's the reinforcement they used. So the fence fell to the other side of the neighbors. So we had to bring in workers that will have to break the concrete. So it was not actually done by mapper, so you have to bring in machine. So it was not easy for them for mapper to be able to do it. So we have to bring in machine to break the concrete. Then the iron bender had to cut off the rods. The position of the pillar base was done by taking measurement from the end of the fence at every 10 feet, then pillar at every 10 feet, then pillar. So that will determine the numbers of pillars that you have on the line. So what I did was to take measurements of 10 feet, then the measurement of the pillar itself, which is 9 inches, so at every 10 feet, then 9 inches, 10 feet, 9 inches. That will be the way you get where exactly the pillar base would be. So from the after getting your 20 feet, then 9 inches, 10 feet, 9 inches, then let me use one of the pillar to explain. So to be able to get the offset from the main pillar, now what you do is to subtract. What I did was the size of my pillar base. Now I'm considering both the basket, the mat reinforcement, that's the one that will be on the floor, that the pillar itself will rest on top, so, and the space, so that it will be free from corrosion. So I'll just consider that measurement, then I'll subtract it away from the 9 inches, which is the size of the pillar, then divide it by 2. So that will tell you the space that you give, offset space that you give from the away from the pillar at the 4 sides. So that will not determine the pillar base position, so that you proper position it in a proper way, so that it will not be, the pillar base position will not be far away from your tail feet. The digging of the pillar base and the foundation should be leveled properly. Then you can see the reinforcement. You can see a slant positioning of the reinforcements. So the reason for that slant position is because the slant positioning of the reinforcement will be at the back. That's where the neighbor is. The reason why it will be done that way, so that because of the amount of sand that is present in the compound, so when there is any movement, the reinforcement at the back will provide support for the wall fence. So that's the reason for that. Then the size of the mat is 2 feet by 3 feet. It's not 2 feet 6 by 3 feet, because the 6 inches that we did on the positioning of the pillar base, that one is to make sure that there is enough space away from the reinforcement, so as to provide corrosion, as I have said earlier. The bar spacing of the pillar is at a distance of 1 foot. Then the spacing for the mat, you can see the mat, the spacing is at 6 inches spacing of the bars. The reinforcement bars is bent upward, not downward. So I'm talking of that of the mat. So these are some of the reinforcement that have been tied already. So the iron bender is still working on this one, is not yet done. The slant reinforcement was done with the use of 16 mm rod. Then the main pillar was done with 12 mm rod. Then the mat was also done with 12 mm rod. Then the steel rope was done with 10 mm rod. So reinforcement is very important. So what we later did was, after every 4 coach, then beam 4 coach beam to the end, then they are trying to clear the position of the pillar base, because during rainfall, water was entering from the roof of the neighbor, then it was packing sand inside the pillar base position. So they have to clear it so that it will neat properly before casting. Then before the casting, what we did was to do a blinding on the pillar base position. The reason for that blind is that so that you not place your reinforcement on top of sand. So you have to do some blinding about 1 inch or 2 inches. So depend on what you want. Then before you position your reinforcement, then do your proper casting, and your reinforcement should be done properly. Reinforcement positioning should be done properly. You have to align your block work with your pillar position, and your pillar position should be straight.